what people do when they've been asked to train a bit for health, the two methodologies, they either go to a Pilates class or a yoga class, basically.
Great.
So my question is, I'm a French person, and why should I choose a foundation training over one of the two other options? Bonjour à tous, aujourd'hui on se retrouve pour une petite interview podcast avec le docteur Eric Goodman ici. On est en Floride et j'ai fait venir Eric pour discuter de sa méthodologie. On va switcher en anglais. Il se trouve qu'il n'y a pas encore beaucoup de contenu en français ici, mais on va le traduire. Donc on va avoir la discussion en anglais, mais elle sera traduite. OK ? So, Eric, nice to meet you here in your office in Florida.
Bonjour and hello.
That's great. So, I've been attending to your level 1 certification this past week. I've decided to dive deep into your world in foundation training because after all my research, it just seems that such a good method for so many reasons, and we'll dive into that. But when you're French, if you don't speak English, you're kind of screwed, if I can say that, on YouTube, I don't know. And so all the podcasts, all the books are in English, all the resources, even your app is in English, but I'm not sure your books are translated in French.
We have a number of countries. I'm not sure if France is one of them. If one of the books was in French, it would probably be the original foundation training book. That being said, as I've told you, we are planning to do a significant translation, not of the book, but of our entire app, at least the larger programs in the app, into French and a number of other languages. We were just given this opportunity and we're jumping on it. So while yes, you can't do it in French entirely yet, we will have an option soon. And you have Paul and a few other people coming together in France to bring foundation training out there. And I would imagine more will follow suit when they see the quality of what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's a very serious thing to undertake, and you're going to do well if you do.
Okay, so let's start with helping the French people understand a bit more who you are before we jump into foundation training and all that. So who you are, just your background, your history, quickly.
So I'm currently 43. I've been teaching foundation training since I was 27 years old. At that point, I had graduated from chiropractic school. I have a doctorate in chiropractic that I don't use. I've never had a chiropractic clinic. I'm not a hands-on adjusting doctor, but I started this process of understanding first my own ongoing back injuries while I was in college and then in chiropractic school, which became foundation training eventually. So by the time I was graduating chiropractic school, I had already had a very bad back injury and had started to rehabilitate myself because surgery was a very scary consideration. I have a very degenerated multiple disc herniation level spine. It's just really bad degeneration, however you'd like to put it. When I started to strengthen it, my symptoms very rapidly went away, and it started to give me an understanding of certain elements that I just wasn't taught in school, in weightlifting. I became a personal trainer at 18 years old. Yeah. I'm a dork, a nerd when it comes to the body. I want to know everything. I want to understand everything, which is impossible. But I've been on this journey of understanding the mechanics of the hamstrings and the pelvis and the hips and the spinal muscles and how these nerve pathways either support us or harm us. And for the first half of my life, I was being harmed by my movement. And for the second half of my life, or this latter third so far of my life, I've really been healing myself through movement and through breath. And I've been evolving this practice of foundation training, which is a body weight tensioning isometrics expansion system. I don't even know how to say it. I've been teaching it for so long, and there's so many ways to put it. But I am educated as a chiropractor. It took me almost 15 years to open my first office, which is a movement space and an education space and a sauna space in the back. But I've just been teaching this ongoing evolution of foundation training to everybody I possibly can since 2008. And we've now had a certification course that you just came through for over 12 years. We have 1,400, so 1,400, give or take a few instructors around the world. We're growing, and we're doing our best to organically, naturally grow with people that love to help other people and are really willing to make the effort to understand an ongoing improvement in the perspective of how the human body works. And that ongoing improvement in perspective in how the human body works is what I would call foundation training.
Okay. Well, this would have been my second question to carry on this conversation is, how do you help the French understand what is foundation training? What can it do for them? I know when I looked for it, I was looking for a back pain solution or strategies. And I was very impressed by the way, because you're the only one speaking about the adductors and the hip internal rotation and the breast and the neck in this type of position like that, and the serratus anterior and all those muscles that I know, but I never see anyone speaking about them in this fashion. And when I found foundation training, my back was already a lot better. I was out of most of my troubles, but still have nagging chronic stuff going on. And I felt the difference. And So how can you, I know it's difficult because you just said it's difficult, but define people, what is foundation training and what can it do for them? What should it matter to them?
In the truest, straightforward, no bullshit information around it, just what is foundation training? It's a skill that you're learning to be able to access the posterior chain muscles of the body first. Meaning, first, we're bringing the hamstrings, the glute butt muscles, the groin adductor muscles into a concert of communication, a symphony where they communicate better. There's a tone among them. And that tone supports the spine. Awesome. Easy. From that tone of the posterior chain, we have to teach a safe, neutral expansion of the torso. We call it decompression breathing. And decompression breathing is the theory of foundation training, which is if we return the center, the axis of the body, from a collapsed convergent space to an expansive tensegrity, high tone, but not dominant tone space, then most of the body's chronic pains will reduce. We will find better balance, better walking, better sleeping, better standing, better running, better sitting. That's the theory of foundation training. If we bring the posterior chain online, if we activate those muscles together, if we bring the center of the body, the axis, the rib cage, the spine towards expansion, we will therefore improve the body.
Donc je dis un petit mot, I say a little word in French. Donc je ne sais pas si vous avez bien compris exactement tout ce qui vient de se passer là, mais quand il parle d'accéder à la chaîne postérieure, pourquoi est-ce qu'on ne fait pas juste un soulevé de terre roumain, un Romanian deadlift? C'est parce qu'en fait, la moindre position des pieds, des hanches, du dos de ça joue énormément pour causer un effet très spécifique qu'on vient cumuler à un effet de respiration, de position de la nuque, des bras, des mains. Donc il y a énormément de détails dans les positions du corps pour aller causer des effets spécifiques. Il ne suffit pas simplement de renforcer la chaîne postérieure, c'est beaucoup plus détaillé que ça, et on ne peut pas simplement faire l'exercice parce qu'on l'a vu quelqu'un le faire et le reproduire. Il y a vraiment beaucoup plus d'informations à aller chercher, être guidé pour le faire, sincèrement. Voilà. I was just explaining the difference between foundation training and doing and what you just said, because I wanted to make sure they captured it. But if it's a posterior chain exercise, why not just do a Romanian deadlift? So it's about little details of positioning, combining with the breast and the neck and the arms and all that. The concert, you spoke about making this concert flowing.
The details of foundation training are what make it different.
Yeah.
I can teach anybody a hip hinge in 10 seconds, but I can teach you an amazing hip hinge in a couple minutes. It'll take a little longer. Yeah. There's a little more nuance, a little bit more practice, but the outcome will change you as opposed to one that just shows you something.
Yes.
And foundation training's goal is to lead you down a process of adaptation, very physical adaptation. And that's what you're discussing, the difference of a Romanian deadlift. Wonderful exercise. I love it. Add a little weight, make the body respond. It works very well. You do that same thing with just your body weight, using the physics of your body to compete against itself. And in my opinion, the outcome is greater.
Yeah. For health.
For health, and even for the next time you Romanian deadlift.
Okay, all right.
And you recruit that tissue better. We make strong people stronger.
This is something that I noticed also starting foundation training. It's not like you do the training and then you finished and you carry on with your life. Mm-hmm. You realize that what you learn through the position, and then next time you are in a line or surfing on your surfboard paddling, you will start to get the neck long, get a good breathing, the hips, the knees, the toes, and you use those little cues that you learn during foundation training to make your daily movements better. And that it supports you better, mm-hmm. which is not something I must say I've found with other ways I've trained or approached the body or stuff like that.
We call foundation training, and this is something we've used since day one. Mm. In 2008, 2009, when we were first starting, it wasn't even called foundation training. It was just these ideas, these things we were doing. Proximal hamstring contractions, competing against the multifidi muscles, this very physiological description of what I was putting together. So what happens as you're doing these nuanced movements and these different things is it makes everything you do better. We started calling it the universal accessory to movement. Yeah. Because a little bit of foundation training makes a lot of impact in the next movements you do.
Yes.
We have athletes of every type, every walk of life, at every level, from basic amateurs to the literal best athletes in the world, utilizing this work for the exact same reasons, which is when I do foundation training, I feel a little lighter on my feet because of the dispersion of my body's weight being better. And I feel much more athletic and much more confident in my athleticism. Even cough better.
Exactly. So I want to touch on performance, but just right after we finish speaking more about health.
Sure.
So you said decompression breathing, mm-hmm. which is one of the cornerstone of foundation training. So decompression breathing is something you invented, you created. And in France, people don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. So why should they care? And can you say a bit more on what it's all about?
Yes. I started the process of developing decompression breathing because my first several years of posterior chain development extended my spine too far. And I started to thrust my ribs forward,
yes.
which is a problem because that straightens your thoracic spine. We had to figure out a way to get the curve of the thoracic spine to absorb its force, allowing the lumbar lower spine to be spared. Because when that straight thoracic curve is there, it just shoots force. And it doesn't go to the pelvis, it goes to L4, L5. It's very painful.
Where everybody gets hurt.
It hurts everybody. And I started going there, by 2011, I was like pretty far here and I had to really do something about it. And I didn't know what to do yet. We started two things. And I say we because my buddy at the time, Brian King, was very influential in my daily training, and we were training each other together. You can see Brian in my TED Talks. You can see Brian in my early foundation training programming. And then you can see Jesse, who took over for Brian and really brought a tremendous amount of strength and integrity to the work. I use that word specifically. What Brian and I were able to start playing with, though, was how to get this expanse of the floating ribs and the thoracic spine. And the thoracic spine doesn't need to learn to flex. That shortens it. It needs to learn to widen. And decompression breathing is a widening of the thoracic spine that allows its natural kyphosis to take over. But it's a lifting process that uses the serratus muscles, the serratus anterior, and the two serratus posterior groups to leverage the rib cage open in 360 degrees above the diaphragm. So these rib cage muscles pull the ribs apart. And anybody that watches me decompression breathe will also notice my sternocleidomastoid muscles lifting my sternum to create this cage, this scaffolding, this expanse around my lungs so that my lungs can inflate bigger. That thoracic curvature, lift, SCM engagement and posterior back of the rib cage lung involvement is what became decompression breathing. And it took 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, you can see the first piece of decompression breathing in a TED Talk from 2011 titled The Unexpected Consequences of Modern Technology. And I gave that in 2011 when I was a little younger than you. I was 31. Okay. I was 30 actually. And that was one of my first things, but it was our first time introducing this lift idea. And then you can see decompression go further in some interviews that I did in like 2012, 13, 14. By the time I had my first certification course at the end of 2012, decompression breathing was being actively taught as a principle, and we had really understood it. I got it really well at that point. I had a grasp on it. I could get other people to do it on a repetitive basis. And this is a long-winded answer because it's a long process. Decompression breathing is the hardest part of foundation training by far. You're relearning a breath pattern that forces the ribs to pull apart in every single direction. Not forward, not backward, not up, not down, not side, all of them together in an orbit, a big orbit. So that re-education of the axial skeleton towards expansion has become one of 2 principles of foundation training. And it's a very important one. And it teaches you to stabilize the shoulders and the neck and the head from below. Yeah. And it creates a chamber at the abdomen and the rib cage that are perpetual strengtheners of one another. And decompression breathing is a hard thing to learn, but when you learn it, your breathing gets better, your posture gets better, and your muscle connections get stronger.
Yeah, the first time you hear about it, maybe you think, oh, okay, it's just that, I agree, but it's way more intricate, there's a lot more details, and to make it as effective as possible for you is another learning that you have to do.
And I say that I developed it, and I developed foundation training, and you can break apart pieces of foundation training and see a hip hinge or see this, or you can see different poses. The same with decompression breathing. I developed it steadily. Like the body I didn't invent anything. It's not like, this is what I think should happen. I observed over and over and over the changes I was making in myself. And then I started to notice the ability to change those in other people. And I just kind of reverse engineered what those changes were doing and how to make them. And then over time saw the effects in myself and other people. So it's like an observation that becomes a development.
Yeah.
So just to make that clear.
You didn't invent
no,
breathing.
Of course not. And everybody knows how to do it. I developed a protocol to remind your body of its capacity to breathe. And in foundation training's posterior chain, I developed a protocol to remind your posterior chain how strong it is and how there it is for you. That's all. They're just reminders.
Yeah. Makes me want to jump on another topic of health, which is if you had pain in the knees, you may have heard a doctor or physio or a kiné, en français on dirait, that asks you to stretch or foam roll your mid-back to release the knees. And this is what we call, I think, a limb projected pain.
A referral pain. Pain. Which limb projected pain is very accurate.
And so because when you speak about, okay, it's cool, my rib cage is better, my thoracic spine is better, that's great. I protect my low back, that's very great, thank you. But it's way more than that, because if you give space in the spine through decompression breathing, you can alleviate chronic pain everywhere in the body. Yes.
You have nerve pathways, like a river flowing to the ocean. It's going to get there. Yeah. There might be some hiccups, there might be disturbance, but the more you can open that pathway, the easier the flow to the ocean. Your limb is the ocean. The feet are the ocean. The neuropathy you might feel down the limb, or the weakness that you feel, or the tightness that you feel might be a hindrance in the flow of that water to the ocean. And the more you can clear it up, clear space in those neural pathways, the literal bony holes where nerves pass through, and the muscular triangles and gaps that nerves pass through, the more you can create space and allocation there, the better the nerve communication works, and the sensation of that feels better, and the output of that is stronger.
Yeah, and it's really massive. So I don't want people to just okay, oh cool, and jump to the next thing, because it's super important. I mean, when we are sitting all day long, we always have this little spot that takes all the mobility away and get compressed the most. And and we'll probably create some pain somewhere at some time. So
here's the thing though, a lot of people think that compression is because of the weight of your torso on top of itself, but it's really a result of the platform that the torso is trying to sit on. And one of the first things I tell people if they're having that lower back pain is get your knees together. Just get the knees together and support the bottom of the pelvis, and it will therefore better support the bottom of the spine, which is a first initial alleviation of that compressive process. Just bringing the knees together, which elevates you naturally.
Yeah. I've felt that physically myself with my own pain and difficulties. I sit most days and I have my own compression point in my spine. So I'm a true believer because I've felt it. Okay, it's not just talk.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this because in France, we don't have so many stuff. Like in the US, everybody has a methodology or stuff like that. So we don't have FRC, we don't have MAT, we don't have PRI and all those other stuff. What people do when they've been asked to train a bit for health, the two methodologies, they either go to a Pilates class or a yoga class. Basically.
Great.
Those are the two modalities people go to as a class for health. So my question is, I'm a French person, and why should I choose a foundation training over one of the two other options if I have to choose between one?
Here's what I would suggest. Don't choose over. Pay very close attention to how you do yoga right now. In fact, go to a yoga class and just really pay attention to how it feels. And then go do foundation training for 1 week. 1 week. Go use YouTube. Use my free YouTube stuff. I don't care. Use it, learn it just a little bit, and then go back to that same yoga class and see how you feel. Same with Pilates. Go do a Pilates class. Go do a session. Feel everything your body feels in that Pilates session, and then go do foundation training for 10 minutes at a time every day for the next week. Use one of my 12-minute videos. I have 2 very popular 12-minute videos on my YouTube channel. Use those.
They are in English, though.
They're in English. They are in English.
They are in English.
Soon they'll be in French. Actually, not by the time this comes out, but within a few weeks or month of this coming out, we might have those already in French.
Early next year?
Early next year, certainly.
For sure.
By then, yeah.
Yeah.
By then.
That's good because, those videos are in English. So when you talk about specific part of the body, it's even more difficult. So somebody may understand a bit of English, but then you said shins, tib anterior, and now they are lost. I'll tell you.
Tib anterior. Is that better? You know what? I believe we will have those videos done very soon, and this will give us a little push to do it because I want to get you to look at the French one and a few of my other patients in France. I want to get you to go through the French one, make sure it's 100% accurate, and then as soon as it is, we'll put it out so that we can start drawing some more people into this work. That being said,
so if you see this video, once the French traduction of your videos is done, then go check them out, go on the app and try that for a week and compare how you feel and how it affects your other classes, basically.
Perfect. Yep. So don't think, oh, I do Pilates, I have to stop doing that and start doing foundation training and change what I like to do. That's not how my work works. Foundation training is meant to accessorize your life and let you do all of the things you love to do better. I don't want you to think of foundation training as an hour-a-day practice, something you have to go to a long class for. I want you to think of it as something that you work with an instructor or you work on my app or you work from a book and you learn what you can, and then you go really perfect it with somebody for a little bit. And then you just let that be part of your life and do your Pilates and do your yoga, mountain bike, surf, walk, run, play your instrument, whatever. Don't change that. Use foundation training to gently and slowly change your movement mechanics, and that will improve what you're doing with those movement mechanics.
Yeah, because it's true, it's not a practice that takes a lot of time, that is very tiring, and so ask you to remove all the things you're doing. You can definitely just add it on top of your life. Don't change anything, just take 10 to 20 minutes per day to try it and see how it changes everything. And you don't have to remove something you like or to try that, which is an important message.
Exactly, and you'll know you're doing it well because it's much harder than you think it should be. You do 5 or 10 minutes of this and you're kind of shaking and trembling in a lot of these poses, and it's harder than it looks when you're in it. And those challenges, those shakes, those restrictions, those real deep challenges are what actually make your body adapt to the next step and make your next Pilates or yoga or run or whatever. That's what makes it better, is the neural opening that foundation training wedges open in its isometric poses is going to then be utilized afterwards.
That's great.
Yeah.
Did you have yourself referral pain in
Yes.
your own?
Yeah. When I get bad, I'll show you the position. I have a very bad back by all intents and purposes, from about here to here.
Yeah.
And I've got a pretty bad back from about here to
I've seen
here.
your MRI on the internet.
It's not one level. I've got numerous levels.
Yeah.
And when it used to go out, I would feel it, because you could when my back would go out, you could run your hand along my lower spine and it felt like a stegosaurus. My lower back went from an extension to a complete flexion, like I had sprained my whole spine.
Yeah.
And when it would happen, especially at the early stages, I would be searching for stability anywhere I could, because the center of me was out. And I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I couldn't lay. I basically would take painkillers and figure it out.
Yeah.
Then when I started learning my active extension connected to my proximal hamstring contraction, everything in my life changed. And I started to as soon as I would feel my back go out, I would accept it. And I would just start to put it back in place. And it was that hard and that intense. And the first few times it took me weeks. And then I would go 6 months maybe without it. And then another one would happen. It would maybe take me 10 days. But it was just, oh my God, I'm just on the floor, just twisting and lifting. And just, oh my God, everything I could possibly do to come out of that. Every time that would happen, I would learn more of the process. I would understand what I had to do better, where those weaknesses were expressing themselves so intensely. Give it another year. This next one took me a week. Maybe 2 years until the next one. That one took me like 3 or 4 days. I haven't had my back go out in my 40s, and I'm 43. I'm actually turning 44 next month. That's the longest stretch in my life since I was a teenager of not having a major painful episode that I thought was going to end my well-being and maybe make me have to have major surgery, maybe make me have to, I was supposed to have a 2-level fusion surgery at 27 years old. 16 years later, almost 17 years later, I laugh at that version of myself, and I am exponentially stronger in many ways as a human being, physically and mentally. And now I've taught countless thousands of people how to avoid that same thing. You have to trust that you can get better. You have to trust that the sensations you have are not permanent. Trust being the main operative, and trust is only shown a moment at a time. It never lingers. It's kind of true of any relationship. You have to act in trustworthy ways to yourself, to others. As you get out of that symptom, each time you get better at getting out of the symptom.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is the foundation training protocols now have been evolving for 15 years, 13, 14, 15 years, whatever it is. And it's just that time to get to where you want to get just keeps reducing. We keep getting better at teaching it. People are getting better at receiving it. People are trusting it more the longer we've been around. They're trusting themselves more with it the longer they're practicing it. And it's just this kind of continuous positive feedback loop that's bringing foundation training to the masses like this. And at the same time, allowing the experts and the specialists and the high-level thinkers to look at it and be like, wow, this really is something. We should pay attention to this. We should really look at what's happening with foundation training. We shouldn't just say, oh, that's too hard to do, or that guy's a chiropractor, don't pay attention to him, or that guy's an American, don't pay attention to him. It's something very real.
Yeah.
It's something that has got absolutely nothing to do with me at this stage. I just get lucky enough to be the main instructor of it now. It's so much bigger than an individual spine. It's all about those individuals learning it now and what they can do with their spines and what they can do with their lives. So teaching it from that perspective has made it much easier to stay out of pain, because it's not about my spine anymore. even if my back went bad, I used to think it would be like a real, oh my God, I would be so ashamed. No, I've helped so many people now, and I've seen what it can do for people that are honestly much further gone than my back.
Yeah.
I've seen some real miracle cases with this over the years that have let me trust that I'm going to also continue to be okay if I stay this course.
Yeah,
it's a pretty interesting thing.
So foundation training, can we say it's awesome for chronic pain?
Yes.
Are there any limitations?
Yes. Not many. I wouldn't take a very challenged person into a large position, large complex position of mine. I could take them very likely into like a seated decompression or a standing decompression if they can stand, or if they can't, I can teach them a supine or prone decompression. If they can't get out of bed, I can do those poses in a bed, no problem. I can do it in a hospital bed. I can do it in a home bed. I can do it on the floor, in a car, in an office chair, anywhere. Decompression poses have much less limitation than anchoring or hinge poses. The limitations come in the grand hip hinges, the deeper squatting, the large rotations like a windmill or an archer pose. Those are athletic positions. Mm-hmm. Those are not starter positions. Now, I have seen extremely unathletic people become phenomenal at those positions and become athletic people in some sense, but never the other way. You never start there. You work your way in. The challenges that I have that are the biggest challenges are major significant scoliosis that is not functional. A structural scoliosis that has no capacity to change, I can't change that. Anchoring can't change that. Decompression can't change that. We can maybe make it feel a little better at the time.
You've been helping people with scoliosis.
With functional scolioses. A functional scoliosis is something that is developed over time and has the ability to undevelop over time with the right vectors of force. Okay. A structural scoliosis is something it's congenital. You're typically either born with it or it's going to develop no matter what. And when it develops, it kind of fuses in that space and it's there. Yeah. You have to crack it and chip it, like which I don't do. Yeah. That's a surgical or a braced case. Okay. Functional scoliosis, especially caught young, we hit directly with anchoring and decompression. Scoliosis typically is a problem at the platform of the pelvis being a little bit off, and then the spine kind of rotates and cantilevers so that the torso can find center from there. Mm-hmm. And it looks like this at the spine. Yeah. I have numerous patients with significant scolioses that are functional that have been working with me for many, many, many years and are still doing all of the things they love to do that they thought they could never do again. Many of those, and some of them are in their 60s and 70s.
Well, I guess that's the perfect transition for performance.
Okay.
So I know you've been helping a lot of big names and to perform better as athletes. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can start by dropping some names to help people understand that it's not just little stuff you've been doing.
We've worked with, so it depends on the sport I'll talk about the ones that I don't like to talk about people that I don't have a very close relationship with. So I'll talk about people that I've been now working with for a long time. Okay. My favorite patient of all time, or at least one of my favorite patients, is Jeff Bridges, the actor and you can go on my app and see some really fun interactions. You can work out with Jeff. He will even teach you foundation training on the app, which is pretty cool. But Jeff came in many years ago. He was working on a film in like 2009. And he was about to quit the film. He actually quit the film for a little while because his back was so bad. One of those great stories. I actually didn't even meet him yet. I made him a video at the request of his trainer that I had just met. I send Jeff the video. He starts doing it. We meet maybe a year later. And he's just like, I did the video. It fucking worked, man. His Jeff Bridges as it gets. And now he then became a very ongoing patient for a long time. And somebody that I've somehow in my life developed an unbelievable relationship with, and I love him and his whole family. Yeah. I mean, his daughter has come through my certification. It's a wild one. On the athletic side of things, we've gone across the board from surfing to motocross to basketball to baseball. You met the pitcher. It was just here, the professional pitcher that I'm working with, and there's a lot of sports that benefit from foundation training. Very early on, I was able to work with Kelly Slater in surfing and Dane Reynolds in surfing and Brad Gerlach. And Brad's remained a very dear friend over the years. And actually, his product, WaveKey, which is the most biomechanically accurate product in surfing, we got to co-develop, I didn't have anything to do with WaveKey, but when he was developing WaveKey, I was very into the process of developing foundation training, and we would train together, go surfing, and just have these really interesting mechanics talks about both.
Yeah.
And Brad's a very intelligent man, and also one of the best surfers in history. Billy Kemper, actually, I just showed you a picture, right?
Yeah.
I just got a text from Jesse, who's currently training Billy Kemper in California, normally in Hawaii. Billy's been a part of the program a long time, and his coach, Kahea Hart, who is one of the best surfers and best trainers on the North Shore of Oahu, is a big part of the foundation training family. He's been certified forever. He was one of the first big name surfers to really adopt what we're doing and bring it into his culture. But I mean, my first big thing was with the United States Olympic water polo team in 2008 for the Beijing Olympics. They actually just got a bronze medal at this previous Olympics, and I'm very proud of them, but we got a silver medal in 2008. We did very, very well. That led into prepping Lance Armstrong for the Tour de France that he was returning to. That led into Derek Fisher, Luke Walton, Sasha Vujacic, the Lakers of the 2010 championship, getting them prepared for we've had a really interesting run.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I've worked with that I honestly didn't like very much, and I'm not going to name because they weren't very nice to me. And I don't care who they were, and it wasn't worth it.
We know who the nice ones are.
And some of them, you'll notice Chris Hemsworth wrote a foreword to my second book, and he is one of the coolest guys I've met along the way. Overall, it's been a real series of serendipity.
Yeah.
That I feel I've been very lucky to show up for and present this really cool thing in foundation training. And the vast majority of people that have been introduced to it have enjoyed it and have learned something from it and have wanted to implement it into their lives.
So if I can say, if you're an athlete and you wonder how this health training in appearance can help you, so it has saved careers. Mm-hmm. It has allowed people to have longer careers by, correct me if I'm wrong, but by allowing them to be less in their joints and more in their muscles.
That's an accurate statement. We have primary stability, which is muscle tissue, tendon tissue, as it connects to joints, as it moves and holds the frame of the body. And then we have secondary stability, which is like when the muscles fail, this will hopefully not snap and break, and that's ligaments, cartilage, joints, bones. But the muscles, the primary stability, that's the mover and holder of the body, the balancer of the body. The more we can take weight away from joints and distribute it throughout muscles, the better our metabolism, the better our balance, the better our coordination, the better our breathing, the better our life.
Yeah, so this is massive because if you use foundation training, as it uses a lot isometric tension, mm-hmm. you can adapt the tension to where you're at. So if you are in pain, you do it at your level. And if you're trying to perform the best of your ability and learn how to be more in your muscles and less in your joints because you are not 16 anymore, you are 25, 30, mm-hmm. pushing it even further, then you can still have a high level of performance in foundation training to allow you to be a better athlete in your own sports.
At any age.
Yeah.
That's the key, at any age. It's body weight and it's learning how to use your body weight better.
So even if you're on the road or to a competition, or you can use it.
The amount of musicians, some of them very high-level musicians, some of them very well-known musicians that travel around the world with this work, using it to prep them for performances, to take them down from performances. Head coaches of major sports teams, because the intensity gets so high, they actually use decompression breathing to meet the intensity and to come down. Okay. And it works extremely well. And we offer an extreme intensity if people want it. You can take foundation training to an incredibly intense place where your whole body is shaking and you just can barely hold the tension. You can also do it very gently. Because of that spectrum, we're able to have a very broad spectrum of users, from the young 16-year-old trying to get better to the 90-year-old trying to just keep going a little bit. But it's the same principles, it's the same movements, it's just the intensity in which you do them.
Will you have something to say specifically to some of my people here are skiers and snowboarders?
Mm-hmm. Two things when it comes to snowboarding, and I was able to show Paul one earlier today that he was able to notice very rapidly. There is an ability of the foot, the arch of the foot, the ankle, the muscles that line the shin from the back to significantly alter the tension at the hips, the back, even the shoulders, even the limbs. As you elongate the back of the leg at the depth of it, as you dorsiflex, lifting the toes, you are undoing a lot of the compression that the boots of skis and snowboards put you in. And that continuous inward compression, it does more than you anticipate it does for the sensation and output of the spinal nerves. And instead of treating all those pains you feel here, if you start to address the width, space, and strength of the foot, ankle, and arch and toes, you will do more for the body and your ability as a snowboarder or skier than just about anything else you can do. If you coordinate those expansive foot motions, stretches, and strengths with foundation training motions, you're now coordinating your entire body into a much less painful, much more mobile, stronger snowboarder, skier. And we've seen it at the top with Ted Ligety. We've seen it with Dusty Henriksen. We've seen it with Dominic Vallee out of Canada. One of my dearest friends, Dylan Farr, was a professional snowboarder in the 90s. He is one of the biggest fans of foundation training ever. I have a podcast out there with Ted Ligety and Johnny Mosley discussing how they fell in love with foundation training and what it does for skiers. I personally love to snowboard. I skied up until I was a teenager, and then I switched over and started snowboarding. And my snowboarding personally has improved a lot, which isn't a big improvement. I mean, I'm blues and black runs mostly, just cruising. But the difference of being in my 40s and being able to pain-free cruise, pain-free surf, pain-free whatever, and if it becomes less pain-free, I can get myself completely out of that situation, as anybody that learns this learns to do. That's why you got to learn it. It's not because I told you to do it. It's because what happens when you do it is undeniable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about being able to snowboard. It's also just being able to be happy. If you are happy, you're also a better person with your family and with your life, and you get creative and you do what you're supposed to do in life and not just reacting in the flow of stuff in society and whatever.
And if you're in pain all the time, it's very challenging to be happy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
And that's great. I think we've talked about all the subjects I wanted to touch on. Maybe a word to say goodbye to our dear French audience here, and the other one who will enjoy the interview also. Where can we find more information about you, about foundation training? If we want to train foundation training and discover it, how should someone watching the video, do?
Okay. If you are in France, you have the ability to train with Paul, go train with Paul, because it's always better to learn in person, and he has a mind that is going to break this down like an engineer and understand it like an engineer. And that's a very good thing to be around. So pay attention to what he's going to teach you if you have the opportunity to.
Well, thank you.
Go on the app, and that you have to learn. Make sure you really learn it well. Like don't mess around.
Sure, count on me. You can count on me.
I know, I can tell, trust me. We have a wonderful app, ftstreaming.com. On that app, we have done significant work. We have pain regional protocols. We have fundamentals that will change your life. We have short workouts, long workouts. I instruct a lot. My right-hand guy, Jesse, instructs a lot. And we have a whole group of core educators that also instruct a lot that are very talented. If you can't work with an instructor, if you can't get on the app, we have a free YouTube page that we will be translating a few of the videos into French and a number of other languages in the near future. That programming just became available to a standard that we're finally happy with, and we're going to be implementing it.
But the app is free for 14 days.
The app is free
everybody
for 2
can
weeks.
try that.
You can literally start it, cancel, come up with some bullshit name, and start it again. We just want you to learn foundation training, and those of you that really want to go the distance, there's quite a lot that you can learn. There's so much that you can learn about this work. I've put out as much as I can. I've written 3 books on it. My wife has written a book for pediatrics on it. We have other people that have written books that have included foundation training in it for various reasons. There is a lot of information in interviews, in the app, in old programs. Just do your deep dive. What you'll notice is the longer you spend learning about it, the more intricacies you understand about it, just like any language. This is the language of very structurally sound physical movement. And the more you understand, the better it feels, plain and simple. Other than that, it's basically au revoir and merci.
Yeah, well, that was great, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
So si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à les mettre en commentaire, j'y répondrai. Si elles sont en français, peut-être si elles sont en anglais, Eric peut-être y répondra, on verra. Et moi, je vous dis à très bientôt pour une prochaine.
Yes.
That was cool, hein?
Very cool. Thank you.